Well, hi there, advisors. It's Noreen here from the product development team at CM Home Office. And I sure hope you're having a wonderful time at your advisor event and that you're learning from each other and getting so inspired for your businesses. I'm excited to be with you virtually today to share a few insights and maybe give you a couple of ideas about some of the products that are launching on Monday, May 10th. And I think you've probably just seen a sneak peek of the products that are in front of me here. This is the new On the Mend collection, which has been a highly requested theme, and we are thrilled to be able to bring that to you. This is going to be perfect for not only celebrating the doctors, the nurses, the caregivers, and all of the people who help to keep us healthy, but also for documenting the journey that many of us go through after a serious illness or an injury to heal and to get well. So I think, as I've said, that you've probably just had this little sneak peek, but let me show you a bit more about it. Of course, it features a paper pack. Look at all of these great patterns. And we've got little crosses and heartbeats and band-aids, a lovely floral. We've got some soup and stethoscopes. All things that are related to health, to healing, and to that idea of wellness. You'll notice that it's going to coordinate beautifully with our red, cranberry, beige, island waters, and blue custom CM cardstock. So that's the paper pack, and we've got some great embellishments and accessories to go along with it. Of course, we have a 3-pack of stickers, and it has the cutest borders, little sayings. I love this one: no words, just hugs, owie. So this is, again, it's going to be great for, kids, scraping their knees all the way to going in for surgeries or those scary doctor visits. We've got a little x-ray here, the box of tissue. We love our nurses. Of course, the flowers, that you might send to somebody to get well, all in that great color palette. So it's fresh and it's fun. Not to diminish the seriousness of the theme here, but just to bring a little bit of lightness and brightness. So that's the stickers. And of course, we have a great collection of laser cut borders. And when you see these, I think you're going to fall in love with them. Just a reminder that the laser borders are a 10-pack of unique borders. So you're going to want to encourage your customers to buy two. Look at that fun x-ray and, doctor's chart there. Prescriptions and pill bottles. We've got some fun soup and tissues for those days when you're a little under the weather. These stethoscopes. Hope you can see all the details there. I love this one with the vases of flowers and all of these little cards, that would say get well soon. And I actually think you could probably cut this border into pieces and use it on some get well cards that you are custom making. And then these borders are probably the cutest ones I've ever seen in relation to, getting well or health and wellness. I love this little ambulance. It's probably either going to the hospital or coming away from the hospital. But again, look at that great detail in those borders. And that's going to make a 2-page spread right there. That's all you need. But we're going to play with these borders. And something else that you can see on my table. But let's just finish off talking about the On the Mend collection by talking about the matte pack. And we've heard from you that you are really enjoying the matte pack since we've given them their little bit of a refresh at the beginning of the year. Yes, they are 12 versus 24, but we've made them work really, really hard. And of course, you can use any of these to matte on. Matte your standard size 4x6 photos. You can use them as titles. There's great journal boxes, and we have included lots of double size or half size, however you want to think about it, mats, so you can cut them out, use them as little fillers where you might not have another photo. And of course, then they make great little smaller journal boxes. So again, we love our mats, and we've heard from you that you are loving kind of the revamped way that we are selecting them and producing them for you. And we know that you're loving the zip top bag that they come in as well. And then the final piece of the collection is the new Heartbeat Chain Border Maker cartridge. And this is, as the name suggests, a chain style border, so it will separate itself from the paper you are punching it from. And it features a little heart and then the little heartbeat. So we're going to have some fun with this a little bit later on, and we're going to really focus on all kinds of borders. Now, all of the products that you see here are part of the Buy It All bundle for the On The Mend collection. And of course, that's the bundle that you get the 10% off, plus you get the free On The Mend project playbook, which has, I think it's 5 layouts that are just great inspiration for taking the collection and creating some fabulous layouts. So don't forget to encourage your customers to purchase the Buy It All bundle. Maybe you're going to have a Buy It All bundle club, and really encourage them, show them the benefit of that, not to mention the chance to win the golden ticket, which includes the adhesives. So all the good reasons to get the Buy It All bundle. So as I mentioned, the borders in this collection are one of the parts that I love most about the collection. I love all the colors, the details, and I think, again, their size really makes an impact on your layouts. And I think they're going to be perfect on their own, but I thought it would be fun to play with them and see how they combine with the new Heartbeat Chain Border Maker cartridge. And it's really been a while since I've sat down and just played with a new punch to see what it can do, what I can do with it, and thought about that question that I often will ask, what if? What if I turn it around? What if I flip the paper over? What if I do this? What will it look like? So I'm going to share those with you, and because I got a little carried away, and besides doing some combination borders with the laser borders and also the sticker borders, I have some fun border techniques to share with you that you can try and then share with your own customers as well. Okay, so let me clear this off and let's get making some borders. So let's take a look at some of these borders that I prepared in advance. As I said, I love to play with the products, see what I can do with them. So it was really fun to come up with these. And I started off by just going ahead and punching several of the little heartbeat chain borders from one of the papers, the Red Hearts paper, from the On The Mend paper pack. And then I tried out different ways to combine them with the laser cut borders. And really all I've done in addition to combining them is just mounting them onto a little 2-inch strip of the kind of neutral dot paper in the background. So these are really simple borders to put together. And I'm just going to kind of talk you through them. So in this first one, we've got a little soup border, the soup and tissues. And all I've done to that is kind of tuck the heart border behind the boxes of tissues and let the little heart kind of peek through in between the tissue boxes. So it really just kind of adds almost like a little scalloped touch there. You might have to just kind of tuck them in, and you maybe want a little bit of adhesive to help them stay in place so they don't kind of pop back up. But really easy to do, and then you get a little bit more color and a little bit almost like a background behind the tissue boxes. So that one's a really easy one. And then these two, the one with the prescription pad and the x-rays, is even easier because it really is just the border and then have the heartbeat chain border just kind of in front of it, just kind of along the lower edge. Again, just for a little bit of added color and added interest. So perfect on its own, but just a little bit extra when you add the punched border to it. And I think that really helps to tie things together. So if you wanted to use this border, which really is quite neutral, but you have a lot of other colored papers, maybe just by adding the punched border in one of those colors will help bring another color into the border and again tie it together. Okay, and next up we have the little Band-Aid border. Now the Band-Aid border, the laser cut border, is quite skinny. So what I decided to do is add two of the heartbeat chain borders to it, one above and one below. And you might notice that the one above the Band-Aid border is heart, heartbeat, heart, heartbeat, heart, heartbeat. And then the one below is opposite. It's heartbeat, heart, heartbeat, heart. Now, if you are just using cardstock, of course, all you need to do is really flip over the border and you'll get the opposite effect. So that's a really easy way to achieve that. Just flip it over and you've got basically the opposite border. But if you want to have a border and then the same border going in the opposite direction, but with the same paper, you are going to have to flip it over. So I punched from the red hearts paper, and then this is the back side. So I put the red hearts paper in my paper guide of the original border maker system, punched it as normal, and then for the second border, which I wanted the opposite direction but the same pattern, I had to flip the paper over and punch with this side of the paper up. So again, just a little reminder that you can get a different look by switching out the direction that your paper is being punched in. And that's really important to remember, especially for a border maker cartridge like this that has two distinct icons and has a repeating pattern that would normally start with the heartbeat. If you want it to start with the heart, you're going to have to flip your border, your punched border over, or flip the paper that you are punching over. So again, that's how I added a little bit extra impact to that cute but quite narrow Band-Aid border. So on to my next group of combined borders. And I've done the same sort of thing here, but I've combined them also with the stickers. And of course, the stickers are a bit smaller. They're narrower stickers. You get 6 stickers on the 5.5-inch sheet. So again, it's just a great way for us to kind of make a little bit more impact. So again, here's the red heartbeat chain border behind the multicolored Band-Aid and little pills and tablets border. And then we've got the red heartbeat chain border behind the red cross. And then because I kind of switched out the papers, punched up the heartbeat chain from the Island Waters cardstock and layered it. And again, on that DNA little strip, really cute, but just to give it a little bit more impact, a little bit more interest and variety, it's fun to add that heartbeat chain border maker cartridge punched border to that particular sticker. Now, sometimes I, get so hung up in seeing what I can do with the border strips that I forget that, of course, you can cut them up as well. So for this one with the stethoscopes, I love that it was multicolored stethoscopes. For this one, I just cut a few of the single hearts from the Island Waters cranberry and blue cardstock and just kind of arranged them on top of the stethoscopes in that same kind of whimsical way that the stethoscopes are arranged. And then down here with the flower vase border, what I did is take another of the Island Water borders and I just cut it into pieces so that it looked like it started at the edge and went behind each of these little cards. And of course, these are individual pieces. So you can see that I cut the pieces to start and stop on either side of the cards. But it almost looks like that border now is on the same level as the vases and that the little cards are popping in front of it. So again, just, I kind of forgot about it and hadn't done it for a while. Don't forget that you can cut various shapes or sections out of your borders as well. And I've kind of continued that theme onto the last page of the combined borders that I've got here. So again, I've added some lengths of the punched borders kind of in front of and behind the ambulance and then before and after the hospital. And again, I think it just adds to it. It kind of echoes the line going through the ambulance here. And of course, I've got them showing on both on the same page, but you can imagine that if you had, them next to each other, let me just put one beside each other here. You can imagine if it was going across a full page spread and you had the hearts on both of those borders. Again, it would really help, just like the road line and the skyline, it would really help to draw your eye across the page. So again, even though these borders are fantastic on their own, it's just nice to add that little bit extra. Now up here on the little doctor's suitcases or doctor's bags, it was a row of all little red crosses. So I just punched one border with that same paper I had been using before, that kind of little neutral dots, and again just took 5 of the individual hearts, popped them up with some foam squares, and that just kind of breaks up all of the red crosses that were going across that border, and again just brings in another color. So if you're looking at things and you're thinking, well, I really like this border, but I want to use some of the island waters in my layout as well, just add something to it. It's almost a good question. Besides what can I do with this, what if, is what can I add? What can I add to these borders to make them coordinate with the other products that I'm using? And then for this last one, which was the red and white heartbeats, again, just to break it up and bring something else in, I had a blue punched border and a white punched border. And then just kind of played mix and match. So I put the heartbeats on top of the opposite color of heart, and then just trimmed them into a new shape. So again, kind of creating a customized embellishment there from the 2 different icons that are featured in this punch. So that is kind of an overview of how I did some combining the laser borders, the sticker borders, along with the heartbeat chain border maker cartridge. But of course, I could not stop myself from playing around and seeing what else I could do with the heartbeat chain BMC. And some of these are really easy techniques that would be great to share with your customers, because you can do these with just the original border maker system and the cartridge, the 12-inch trimmer, and a variety of cardstock. These are all just red and black cardstock on the bright white background. So these would all be really easy and inexpensive make and takes, for example, that you could do at your events. And it would be a fun challenge for your customers as well, to give them a challenge to create as many different kinds of borders with a single border maker cartridge and cardstock, for example, or you could even specify the colors and see what they come up with. So I've got a bunch here, and I just want to kind of go over a few of them. These ones are all really easy. I'm just going to kind of show you how I manipulated the borders, and then I'm going to show you how I achieved these ones, which are a little bit more detailed, not hard, but just once you see how to do them, you'll totally understand. So I just started with a red and a black border that I just punched as normal, and you can see that they're exactly the same. I haven't done anything special to them, and if I flip them over again, they would be just the opposite pattern. Okay, so for this first one, you can see that it's literally just layering the 2 borders with a slight offset, so that it looks like the red border has a bit of a black shadow. And repositionable adhesive is always your good friend for this, because it'll hold it in place while you kind of play around with it. But so basically, I just start off by stacking them, and then I just sort of slide it very, very slightly so that I can see a little bit of that black. And that black basically looks like a shadow, and it creates the illusion of depth. So again, just stack them on top, 2 identical borders, one black, one another color, and you will have created a border that looks like it has a shadow and looks like it has a 3D effect. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one here is really, again, taking advantage of the fact that this is a 2 different icon border. Now, I say that because we've got a couple of other ones like that. So this is the Shutter Love. So anytime you have not necessarily a completely repeating design, but rather 2 or 3 different icons, and you want to take advantage of that. So anything I'm showing you with the heartbeat chain BMC, you could do with something like the Shutter Love BMC. And I'm sorry, that's not seeming to focus very well, but I think you know what I mean. There's the camera and the heart in this Shutter Love, and we've got the heart and the icon. So again, the heart and the heartbeat, 2 distinct icons in one cartridge. All right, so for the second one, I flipped over the black, the one that's underneath. So I literally just flipped it over. Here's what we were talking about earlier. The first one is going heart, heartbeat, heart, heartbeat. And then the second one, the one I'm going to layer it over, is going heartbeat, heart, heartbeat, heart. And this one you can play with a little bit more. And as you start to layer them, you're going to see, well, maybe it doesn't match up exactly, but maybe I can do a little bit of trimming if there's some of those little heartbeats that show behind. So for example, when I get that all sort of centered, I can see a little bit of the black just behind there. So I could either do a bit of trimming, or like I've done here is I've just moved it over a little bit so that it covers more of the background, more of the border behind it. So again, you can kind of play around with that to see how it fits best for you. And if you have anything that's showing from the underneath border, the border that's on the bottom, you can always just take your trimmer, your scissors, and trim that off. And so next, with the third and fourth borders here on my little display, you can see that it's a little bit different. I've got heart, heartbeat, heartbeat, heart, heart, heartbeat, heartbeat, heart, heart. So how did we do that? Instead of having the heart and the heartbeat repeating regularly, I kind of manipulated the borders and the way I punch so that I've got 2 heartbeats together and 2 hearts together. And this is really achieved by staggering and flipping. So let's do one of these together here. Let me get a piece of some cardstock, and we're going to put it into our paper tray. This again is just the red cardstock. Fold the paper tray away, and then insert our border maker cartridge into the housing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch at 1, 3, and 5. And if you don't know what I mean by that, take a look at the marks right here on the blue magnetic arm. You can see that there's little notches almost. And those are visual guides so that you can match up the small notch here on the front. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. That's a little bit better. The front of the border housing. So we're going to basically kind of manipulate this, and we're going to flip our paper over. So I'm going to go and do it at number 1, number 3, and number 5. And I'm going to leave out those spaces in between. And if you're eagle-eyed, you're going to see that that's really how we're getting this next one that we'll talk about, just by leaving some spaces out. But so we punched 1, 3, and 5. And now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to punch 1, 3, and 5 again. But because we've flipped the direction, when I punch, you'll see now that the 2 heartbeats are next to each other. The 2 hearts are next to each other. And here again, the 2 heartbeats are next to each other. And if you move your paper and you've got these little sort of, little tiny pieces that didn't quite disconnect, just take your scissors and do a little surgery on them, and nobody is even going to notice. And now I have that heart, heartbeat, heartbeat, heart, heart, heartbeat, heartbeat. So we've kind of changed the patterning using that same border maker cartridge, but just changing the order and the direction we're punching in. Okay. Before I come down to this one, which I alluded to already, I just want to talk about this last one of this sort of the single punches because it looks like a double color. And what I did is I started with one black and one red. And all you're going to do is join them at the hearts. And you're going to join or intertwine them by just doing a little bit of, again, surgery. So I'm just going to snip down from the center of the heart, not all the way down, okay? But on one of the borders, I'm going to snip down from the top to about 3/4 of the way down the heart. And then on the other border, I'm going to snip up. So I'm going to start at the bottom of the heart and just snip up. Again, about 3/4. It's not an exact measurement. But as you can probably guess, and if you remember doing some crafts in, elementary school, or maybe if you're an elementary art teacher like I was for a long time, you'll remember this trick. And that when you have something with a slit on the bottom and a slit on the top, they will interlock. And that's what we're going to do here. So basically, and I think I've done it opposite here, but basically we're going to slide the two pieces together just by inserting the slits together. Okay, so you can see now that that's become one piece. Then we'll go to the next one. It's going to take a couple minutes just to kind of twist and get them together, but they'll start to slide into place because you've already created the mechanism, so to speak, for them to lock together. Okay, so kind of behind and above, or behind and in front, and you're just going to go down the length of your borders there and intertwine the two hearts so that you get that kind of bicolor, dual color look. And so that's how I got this particular border. So once you get it all adhered down, you'd never know that they were two different pieces or two different borders joined together. All right, so for these bottom three, again, lots of fun, and this is an oldie but a goodie, but anytime you have a chain border, you actually end up with this little sliver where it punches through the paper. And again, this is the Shutter Love, but you can see that there's a space above the metal punch area and a space below. So of course, when you put your paper in there, that little space is going to get cut out. And I think you saw it when I did it. Let's do it again. So what we're going to do is basically just punch every other. So here I did 1, 3, and 5. Let's do it at 2, 4, and 6. Okay. So you can see that there is those little tiny slivers of paper, and you want to be really careful with those so that you don't disconnect them. But all you have to do to create that look, and I love it because it kind of looks like the border design is suspended in the middle of the paper. You're just going to cut literally a 1/16 off. So what I like to do is look at this line here that's left over for my punching, and I line it up not with the cutting line on my gray mat, but with the next line. So basically this is the number 2 line. I'm punching at the number 1, but I want to line up my paper so that it's at the number 2. It's at that second sort of dashed line. I hope you can see that. And that's about just a little bit more, I think, than a 1/16. But when I do that, then I get that equal sliver of a border. And really, again, it's going to show up really nicely when you put it down on a contrasting background. In this case, I just took a strip of black cardstock so that you could really see through it. Again, going across a double page spread, you could repeat that. And so you've got, 6 of these little designs. You could add something in between. You could do the journaling in between, or you could even cut out these little individual areas and kind of create your own custom embellishment. So I think that one is really fun. And again, it's an old technique that will work with any of the chain style border maker cartridges that leave that little thin edge. And I've done picture frames like photo mats with those, page style frames with them. It's really fun, and I think we forget about that sometimes. Now, for the second border, same kind of thing, but I've combined the skipping of certain punch areas with that idea of the flip so that we get the heart, heartbeat, heartbeat, heart, heart, heartbeat, heartbeat, heart. So again, a little bit of a different pattern of icons. So let's go ahead and do it again. This is the second one here. So you can see that I didn't punch number 1 or number 6 at all. I punched first number 1 and number 3. So let's go ahead and do that. Get rid of some of my messiness. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm sorry, I think I said 1 and 3. I actually meant 2 and 4 because we're skipping 1 and 6 all together. So I did 2 and 4. Now I'm going to take the paper out, turn it over, and then I'm going to do 2 and 4 again, but it's going to give me that sort of opposite pattern. So now, because I've turned these over, it's looking a little bit different. Now I'm going back to 2 and 4. So now you can see how I was able to get the that unique pattern and also kind of create a little bit of a frame. So again, I would just go ahead and trim this off. Let's do that really quick so you can see the finished product. Again, I'm putting this cut line onto the dashed line to the right of my trimming line. Sorry, there's lots of lines there, but you can see where it cut, and you can see that the width is just to that second line. Okay, so isn't that fun? And again, that can be done with any of the chain style border maker cartridges, but if you want to have that sort of alternating pattern, you could use something like the Shutter Love. Do 2 and 4, so that one and that one, flip it over, and then when you punch again, the icons will be reversed. Okay, so that's the second way I sort of created a fun suspended sort of frame. All right. Okay, so the last border on the page here that I was kind of playing around with, and I want to share with you how I did this, creates this really fun checkerboard effect. And this one is great. It's a little bit extra work, but it's not hard. Again, as soon as you see it in action, you totally understand how it will work. But what we have to do is we actually have to start with a smaller piece of paper. You remember that this type of border maker cartridge will only punch close to the edge of your cardstock. So we actually have to make a piece small enough that it'll punch on this edge, and then when we turn it around and flip it, it'll punch on this edge as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. Let me take a piece of black cardstock this time. And we're going to cut it to 2 1/8. So 2, and then 2 small notches past the 2. Let me make sure I got that nice and even. So 2 1/8. And as you can see, that's a pretty small piece of paper. So when we go to actually put it in the paper tray of the original border maker system, you can see that it's not long enough for the magnet on the blue arm to hold it in place. So we need a little bit of help. You can use, some washi tape. You can use some low tack painter's tape. I prefer to use Post-it notes. I always have them in my crop bag or on my desk, and they're reusable a few times. So they are great, and then I can put them in the recycle bin. So I'm just going to hold this paper in place, and I'm going to attach 3 Post-it notes to act as kind of bridges or handles to hold my paper in place. And now when I place the magnetic arm down, it's holding the Post-it notes in place, which are holding the paper in place. So I can go ahead and punch. So now that that's in, we're going to go ahead and, again, just like with the other two, we're going to punch in kind of a staggered way. So I'm going to punch at 1, 3, and 5. So 1, 3, and 5. I'm going to skip 2, 4, and 6. And I'm going to be careful to keep that little sliver intact. Okay. Now I'm going to take it out, but pay attention to how you're taking it out, because instead of turning it, we are actually going to flip it. Okay. And then we're going to put that solid edge, which we haven't punched, back into the tray. And we're going to reuse our Post-it notes to hold it steady. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now again, it's held in place. And now I want to punch alternate, the opposite to what I punched before. So if you remember, we first punched 1, 3, and 5. Now I'm going to punch 2, 4, and 6. And if I've measured correctly, and I've been fairly careful, I'm going to have that checkerboard effect. And I don't know if you saw that when I pulled my punch away for the last time there. It almost ripped the paper. So again, just be careful, be delicate. But now you can see that we've got a solid piece. And even though I've got a little touch on the end here and none on this end, when you place it on your 12-inch paper or border, you're not even going to notice that this is kind of free from the edge. So, and again, just like with the other ones, it looks great on a contrasting background, or you can add even more interest and variation by just placing a 2 1/8 piece of colored cardstock behind it, which is what I did there. So that is a black punch with the red behind it. So again, all of these are really quite easy. Feel free to go ahead and re-watch the video for some of those if you need to see, the steps again. But just, play around with your punches. Think about how you can combine them with other things. What if you do some switching around? What if you flip your paper or punch every other space? You're going to come up with a real big variety of border types just with that same border. And then, of course, if you combine them with other borders, you have an infinite variety of types of borders, possibilities of border combinations, all with that one punch. So this is definitely a winner. Again, you're going to want to talk to your customers, let them know this weekend about the On the Mend Buy It All bundle that's launching on Monday, and encourage them to get it so they have all of these pieces to play with. And I think they're going to have as much fun as I did. And I had a lot of fun being with you today. I want to thank you very much for taking some time away from your advisor event to hang out with me. And I hope you got some new ideas or were reminded of some of the great older techniques that maybe you haven't used in a long while, just like I was. So I hope you enjoyed the rest of your advisor event, and I'm wishing you a successful launch next week. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.